Hello and welcome to Geeking with Gideros, episode 2. Now, last week we downloaded Gideros and did a little Hello World example. It was really basic and, took about 20 minutes or so. What I want to do this week is to start setting up a project the way I would make a game. I don't want to go and teach you guys or learn all the stuff there is to know about Gideros, but instead what I would like to do is start setting up a project and slowly make a game and learn things as we go. So let's say I pick a game that's odd one out. We have 3 characters that drop onto the screen and one of them looks different to the other. It's a really basic premise, but you learn how to do tweening, you learn how to put graphics on the screen, you learn how to interact with the characters or with the sprites, etc. So this is what I'm talking about. Later on, if I decide to do like a little physics game, we can do the same thing. Learn physics as we need them, okay? I think this is a better way to do stuff because it means I think you retain the information better. That's at least how I feel. Like I never go and learn everything about a software ahead of time, but instead I sort of decide what I want to make, and then as I go I learn all the things that I need to in order to achieve that, and that works for me. So I'm going to do this the way I would normally work, and hopefully you guys can benefit from that in some way. All right. Okay, I'm going to take my drink of coffee. Have a drink of coffee. And I've got a whole bunch of software open today just because I want to talk to you guys about a couple of things before we start really quickly. Now, last time we set up, let's open up Gideros. Last time we set up a project called Hello World. Now what I want to do today, I want to delete this project and set a new one up. This will give us a little bit of practice at creating a new project again, but I also want to set it up in a different place. You guys can do the same thing. Last time we just set it up in the default location, and this time it is going to be the project that we're going to go with. Okay, so we're just going to continue using this and building on it. All right, so as you see, it's under C users / in my case Tom / hello world. So in your case it will be your name or whatever you put down, the computer's name, etc. So I've already opened the folder up here, and this is where where are we looking? This is Gideros. No, that's not where it is. Okay. This is another folder. Okay, so what I need to do, I am going to go to C users Tom hello world. So we have Acer C users Tom, and we've got project hello world. So right click, and we just go delete, get rid of that project. Okay, now is it still showing up? It is. So I'm going to close Gideros and I'm going to reopen Gideros, and hopefully it will disappear. Now in the meantime, can you delete a project from here or from this little view? Let's have a look. Recent projects, yeah, we've got all that. Let's double click on it. Yeah, it should not open it. Maybe I need to point this out to the people who are updating Gideros and let them know that the project, once deleted, doesn't disappear. Recent projects, we can't take it out, can we? Nope. Okay, let's not worry about it for now. Basically, let's just not open this one, and it might be a little bug or something. But before we start a new project, I want to show you guys the directory folder for where Gideros lies. So we go back to our drive, our C drive, and under program files, x86. To be honest, I don't know what half of these things mean, to be completely frank, but I find my way around most of the time. And now we find Gideros over here. So double click, and this is the main Gideros installation folder. As you see, you've got a whole bunch of directories here. This is where all the plugins are that you can include, documentation examples, etc, etc, etc. Okay, couple of important ones for the near future are the players. Okay, here we've got an Android player and an iOS player. Now what you will want to do eventually is take one of these, depending on Android or iOS, whichever one you're developing for, or both, and you will want to in some way put them on your phone. So the best, easiest way is to email them to yourself or use Dropbox, something along those lines. Now Gideros Android player is the one that I'm going to be testing with, and the only reason for that is that iOS requires you to have a developer's license, and that's something like $100. When you want to publish your game, you do need to buy this license, but for testing we don't really want to be paying. So Android allows you to install apps without having to have a developer's license. It is also a lot cheaper to buy a license to be a developer on Android. I think it's something like 25 versus like 100. So again, this I've checked a long time ago about these prices, and they could have changed since then, but hopefully they're still sort of the same. I want to sign up to both of these very soon, because my game is almost done, so hopefully the prices haven't gone up too much. Now, like I said, you can take this player, send it to the phone, then make sure that inside, once you're installing it on your Android device, I haven't done the iOS one yet, but with the Android one, just make sure that it will pop up with a warning message, and it'll point you to the settings, because this APK doesn't come from the store, from the Google Play, and you will have to change some setting to allow apps that are taken from other places. Okay, so it is pretty easy to do, but just make sure that you do change that. Now let's go back to Gideros. All right, the other important things in here are, well, all of them are important, but the ones that we will be paying attention to possibly in the near future in one way or another. There's a font creator. I'm not sure if I'm going to be using the Gideros standard one. I've also got another program, but maybe we will. Depends on whether we need fonts or not. I haven't yet decided whether we're just going to use graphics or fonts themselves. Gideros player, this is the desktop player. This one we'll be using a lot. Gideros Studio is where we do our coding, and Gideros Texture Packer is something I'll talk to you guys in the near future. It is something where you put all your images into one file, and instead of the program, your script, having to load multiple images, it just loads one. This is better for speed of loading, optimization, you know, checking everything in one place. It conserves memory space and all that sort of stuff. So these are some of the programs I talked to you guys about last week. Okay, let's go back to Gideros Studio. Right, we're going to create a new project. Now I'm just going to minimize all this stuff really quickly and show you guys. I've made a folder for me here. It is up to you guys what you want to do, where you want to place your project. You can do it anywhere. I like putting my stuff on the desktop because it's really easily accessible, and yeah, later on I can move it somewhere else. But here is my Let's Dev folder, and under Let's Dev I've got Geeking with the Gideros and Panda Playtime, because these are the two different programs, game design frameworks that I am doing tutorials on. So one is Gideros Studio and the other one is Panda 2. Now let's close this and go back to Gideros, and we go create new project, and here we want to browse and we want to create this on desktop. Let's Dev Geeking with Gideros, and we select the folder. Now location, and the name of the project will be, let's call it The Imposter. The Imposter. And it will be an odd one out game. Seems like a pretty basic idea to start off with. We'll slowly build up and work on this. Okay. There you go. We've got it set up. Now, as I said last time, right click on the project. No, we don't. no, we don't. We go right click on the files and we go add new file, and we're just going to call it main.lua. Now, since we're on the main.lua, we're just going to double click and open it up. Last time I said to you guys that it was one of the first files that loaded up. That's completely wrong. Let's just go back, and I'm going to fix my blunder. A couple of people, I think Oleg on Gideros forums pointed out to me that is actually not the case, and instead what it is, it might not be Oleg. I'll just really quickly check. Gideros mobile community forum. I think, where is it? My videos inspirations. This is the topic we're talking about, and just want to double check who it actually was. Yeah, okay, Sinister Soft was the first one to tell me that it is actually loaded last, and then I think Oleg sent me a link which is actually really good. Lua files and execution order. We can assume that the order of execution files is pretty random, but there are two things guaranteed. Init.lua will always be executed first. This is just any settings your entire program game needs to know before stuff gets loaded, and main.lua will be executed last. So the quick explanation for this is that if you've got a whole bunch of levels with graphics and you're loading sounds and etc., and resources, everything needs to be loaded before main.lua can actually work with it. So main.lua is the file where you're actually telling the program to put graphics on screen and so on, play sounds. It could be another level file too, but main.lua is the one that gets executed when you run your game. So this is I am really confused here, to be honest. I'm trying to explain this to myself, just like you guys. I said this last week. This is a learning thing for both you and me. But one thing I know is that when you run your game, the main.lua is needed to be the file that runs your script. So let's say if you are making a really basic game, you can put all your main.lua stuff inside it. Oh man, I might need to do a little bit more research on this, so don't worry about this too much, guys. But it's pretty, I'll explain this a little bit more. I just need to do a little bit more research. I do understand the way it works and what happens. I do understand that all the files are loaded in the background, so main.lua can access all the scripts, and so it can access all the resources and all that sort of stuff. But what I'm getting confused by is the executed part, because as far as I know, I'm not really sure what they mean by executed, because if they mean executed, I mean I might have some level files, like let's say level 1. Technically that doesn't get executed until I tell main.lua to load it. So usually what I do is in my main.lua file I'll declare all my level files, all that sort of stuff, and then I send, like let's say if I put a button in main.lua, and that might take me to level 1. So technically it doesn't get executed until I go there. I will need to double check this info, but I am boring you with this, guys, right now. Let's just say that it's not important for now. All you have to know is main.lua is this file that you start your game with. Okay, so whether you want to make that your menu or whether you want that to take you to the menu, you have to have a main.lua to put your scripts into. You can also have a lot of other files, but you have to have a main.lua. Let's just put it at that. And next week I will talk a little bit more about what the execution thing is. Okay, right, like I said, this is going to be a little bit rough around the edges. I want it to be a learning process for both you and me, and in no way do I want this to be perfect. Okay, the other thing I wanted to quickly show you guys, now that we've got our main.lua open, is this little bit here. Okay, we've got I think, wait a second, did I just close it? Yes, we don't, we've got the forum open, so we're going to go to a separate page here. And here, if you scroll right down, you've got features, code examples, supported platforms. You've got a whole bunch of code examples, okay? Really basic one here is just to put a bitmap on the screen, a sprite, okay? So we can do this really easily. Now let's just copy the script and paste it into our main.lua. We can leave it exactly as it is, and let's make our own ball. I'll just really quickly go into I set up a thing inside Flash Animate here. I'm not teaching you guys how to use Flash because that's a whole other story. You might already have graphics of your own that you use, or you might have your own graphics software, but I just quickly want to whip something up here just so you guys understand what I am doing. So that is not what you do. That's not what you do either. I don't know the shortcuts for this. Okay, I'm just gonna, normally I use Mac and I never remember what the shortcuts for PC are. Okay, we'll just do this and we'll call it ball. Okay, so we've created a new thing in the library. Right, let's just drag it out here, paste the ball into it. Okay, again, this is not a tutorial on Flash. Instead, it is talking about Gideros, and the Flash part is just what I personally use to make graphics. So let's export this really quickly, export PNG sequence, and we want to put it into Let's Dev and Geeking with Gideros and the imposter, and we're just going to have it sitting in the main directory of the project. We want to do it at 72 dpi because that is the actual size, and we're just starting with that. Okay, so this is again just a really quick example. So if I minimize this, go back to Let's Dev and Geeking with Gideros, you will see that there is now a ball image right here. Okay, so back to Gideros, we will go files, right click, add existing files. Right there you will see your ball image, so you can open that. Right there you see it being imported, and if you drag this down a little bit, you see a little preview of your image right there. So technically, since it is called the same thing, we could just run this program. I will just control save, and it should display a ball on the screen for us. So let's start the Gideros player. Just takes a couple of seconds. Okay, now I don't want to get too much into the configurations yet because that will be a little bit of a longer session. I think I need to save an entire session just for that. What I'm gonna go with, let's just have a look what our scale is here. We've got, obviously orientation is portrait, but resolution, okay. Currently I am showing it at 960 at 640 by 960. Let's, for the sake of this tutorial, just change it to 320 by 480 because that is the standard, I think, resolution that Gideros sets up for you. If you click properties, so you click on your project and you click properties. Okay, just again follow me along guys, just so you see where these things are. You see here 320 by 480. Also, all of this stuff is what I need to talk to you in detail about. Like I said, we're going to actually start setting up a game now, and I want you guys to follow me along and understand why I do the things I do and learn things as we go. So for now we are just going to worry about the image itself. Everything is fine. This is the actual size, all good. We'll press play, and here is your image. Now the image is displaying at coordinates 100 100. Now your coordinates start at 0, 0, so that's x, y, and go across 100, so x 100 and y 100. So right here in the bottom right corner, you're at 100, 100. Over here, okay, you're at 100 x and 0 y. Okay, both 100. So you just got to understand that the numbers go up this way, so across and down. All right, so 0, 0, 100, 100. That's your coordinates. That's how it works. Now for your images, when you set up your sprites and stuff, every sprite has an anchor point. This is the point by which the sprite or the image gets placed on the screen. By default, okay, the anchor point is in the top left corner. So in this case, the image itself is a square. In this case, it is a 96 by 96 square. Even though it displays a circle, all this transparency stuff is still there. Okay, so as you see here, this is still part of the image. Now your anchor point will be at 0, 0 of the image here, and the image itself has coordinates, and this will be the 96, 96 of this particular image. If I took this ball and displayed it at 0, 0, which is what we're going to do now, 0, okay, 0. Really quick trick, guys. Let's put it back to 100, 100, just so you this is a really good time-saving trick. Just want to quickly show you. Okay, when you are trying to change something and copy paste code, etc., etc., you can double click, then replace. Okay, you can also double click, copy, then double click and paste in place again. So you go Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and double click, quickly select a certain word. Okay, now let's change this to 0, 0. We save it again and we press play. Now as you see what I talked about before, this is now displaying flush against 0, 0. Okay, pretty simple, guys. You can change the anchor point to be displayed anywhere you want. So we're quickly going to do that. Now to change your anchor point, all we have to do is BMP set, what am I typing in? Not used to this keyboard. Anchor. As you see, you can use the auto fill in, enter, and here the anchor point is defined as between 0 to 1. So if you want it to be on the left or on the top, it will be 0, and as you go towards the right or towards the bottom, it will be 1. So if we're going for X, okay, this is where 0 would be, this is where 1 would be. For Y, this is where 0 would be, this is where 1 would be. So we're going to put it at 0.5, 0.5. Okay, save again. Now you see the ball is in, the anchor point is in the middle, and that's where it gets displayed. It gets displayed at 0, 0 of your stage, and it's not visible. Okay, so what we would need to do now is obviously move it along. So let's say, just for the sake of this little sample tutorial, if you want to have the anchor point in the middle, but you want to display the whole ball up against its side, up against the side top corner of your stage, what we would need to do, okay, so the ball is 96, 96 wide. There are other ways to get at the width and stuff like that, but we know how wide it is, so we're just going to type in, we're going to display it at 48, which is half. Okay, and now it should show up against the corner again. So as you see, this is really easy. It's actually quite easy to understand, and you guys will have this in no time. Anchor points are really useful and really important. Now, I just really quickly want to talk to you about what all this stuff does. So here you go, here you have your local variable that you're setting up. You don't have to use this. Again, you can take local out and you can just have BMP. Okay, it will do exactly the same thing, but now you're making BMP global. That means that it will be available across all your files, all your Lua files. This is not necessarily a good idea because sometimes globals are important, but if you use them too much, you can risk overwriting some important stuff. For example, stage. Stage is a global used by Gideros itself. And let's say you had a stage graphic that you wanted to use. If you used that name and made it global, Gideros would throw an error. Okay, so you've got to be aware that there are some taken globals that are basically not to be used. So it is better to use local, or in some cases, which is what I use a lot, self. Okay, but let's not get into that just now. Let's worry about just the local for now. The other one I will talk to you about soon. It will mean that it is basically to do with the file it's in, and when we use scene manager, which is what we're going to use to change between scenes, we're going to use this a lot. Okay, it will be when you use self, it will allow just really quickly allow the sprite or the variable to be used in between functions. If you make something local, it will be local to the file but also to the function, and I'll talk about functions later, but basically it's where it's sitting is where it stays. Okay, and you can't use it outside of that. Functions have borders, files have borders, all that sort of stuff. Maybe that's a good way to explain it. And if you try and use a local variable that you've set up in another function and you're trying to access it from another function, that will not work. So if you do self, it will allow you to use it across functions, but it will still remain local to the Lua file you are in, okay, without making it a global variable. So that's a really good way to be able to communicate with your variables. Again, this is all stuff we'll get into, not super important right now, because right now we're just working out the basics. Okay, we're just learning the ropes, we're just setting some stuff up, playing around, all that sort of stuff. Now this video is getting super long, and I did have something for you guys. We're gonna leave it here. I had something for you guys. Last time I couldn't figure out what my see you later message was gonna be, so I'm just gonna run out of the room real quick and I'll be back in a second. Alright, sorry about it, sorry for making you guys wait. Hopefully you put up with me. Now, I did say that I was looking for a goodbye message for these dev sessions. So Finn got this for his birthday the other day from a friend. It is quite entertaining, so this is now, until it breaks, going to be my goodbye message for these dev sessions, okay? And we'll leave it this.